Texas played number 1 LSU, number 2 at various rankings, but top-ranked LSU last weekend, swept them 3-0, done and done. What's the reaction to that series?
Honestly, I was thoroughly impressed with the fact that UT came out and pretty much took it to LSU, especially in those first 2 games. That first game, they chipped away until they finally had that big inning.
Yeah.
Closer to the end of the game, and then the game 2, it was okay. Let's blow this thing open early. Let's get a move on, put some pressure on LSU, and they were able to hold on for that 4-run, 5-run victory, 8-4, 8-3. I think it was 8-4. And then game 3 really showed me what this Texas team is made of. They were down early. They were down all the way up until the 9th inning, down 3 runs, and then Texas has done what they've done all year up to this point, is they battled.
Yeah.
They never gave up. They put together quality at-bats, seeing a lot of pitches, and really came out and showed LSU, hey, you may be the number 1, the number 2 ranked team in the country, but we went to Omaha last year. We're a pretty good team.
Right.
We may have lost a few big guys like Nolan and Chase and, of course, Cody.
Yeah.
But we're not messing around this year. We want to go even farther this year, and Texas really did that. They really showed up, and pitching was excellent, and the offense stayed hot.
Yeah, you mentioned Chase Sugar and Nolan Kingham, Cody Clemens leaving, and this team, as of right now, has been overperforming. I think, well, in terms of my expectations, I didn't think they would go. What is it now? 8-1. Only lost to UTSA, but grab 2 wins up there in in the first series, and then come back, beat Purdue 3 times, and then swept LSU. How did David Pierce build this team where really there's no hero on this team right now, even in starting pitching or anybody on the lineup?
Well, David Pierce, what it seems like is that he is building a lot of depth. It's not so much that he's just going to focus on the one player where that you have to absolutely game plan for, and if you can shut him down, you'll shut the team down. I don't think that's what David Pierce wants to do. He started that last year, or kind of the beginning stages of last year. You started to see players step up, like Duke Ellis, which we've seen him take another step this year, Austin Todd, and then even a guy like Bryce Elder, who started, I think, all of 3 games last year. And is now your Friday night ace. Like, he is your top pitcher, which honestly that surprised me a little bit, just because last year the rotation was Nolan, Chase, Blair. And so the expectation was that Blair was going to take over the Friday night starting, and then Saturday and Sunday it's kind of a question mark. I always figured that Bryce would most likely take either that Saturday or Sunday spot. Never believed that he would come in and take over the Friday night role this quickly. But he's come out and just been absolutely dominant, and that's what David Pierce is looking for. He's finding guys that are hungry. They're willing to come in and put the work, and that's what Bryce did this offseason. He was in full on. I want to be the number 1 for the. I want to lead this team. And he's just a sophomore, so he's still very young. But he understood the idea, or the fact that there's not a lot of leadership on this team, and so he realized that it's time someone needs to come in, take over, and help continue building what they started on last year. And that's what, like, David Pierce, he's looking for players that are hungry. That's what he's looking for, and that's what Bryce has shown me up to this point this season, that he is absolutely hungry and he is ready to go. And the same thing with a guy like Austin Todd. Austin Todd, he is hitting well over 100 points more than his career batting average this season, and he has been an absolute monster in the batter's box. Just overall, I mean, it was who was going to take over for Cody Clemens in the batter's box. That was another big question for Texas. I think we found that answer, and it looks to be like Austin Todd has really elevated his game, But it's not just him.
Yeah.
The batting order 1 through 9 is so tough to get out. Opposing pitchers never really get a break. And I think that's what David Pierce has wanted to build ever since he got here, and it looks like he's finally starting to get that out of these players.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the 2015 Kansas Royals that won the World Series against the Mets, that was one of the most underrated team. And one of the reasons why it was because their lineup was so deep. There's literally, you don't know who the fourth spot is because everybody can hit, and I can see that DNA on this Texas lineup. And then you talked about Bryce Elder. I think 80% or 90% of Texas fans coming into the season would expect Blair Henley to be the ace. I personally believe that one of the reasons he's not this season so far is because he's been struggling a little bit. He has been struggling to find his zone, struggling to find his spots. But again, you talked about Bryce Elder just stepped up and took over the starting rotation. So speaking of that, how much confidence do you have in the starting rotation? Because it hasn't been perfect as of right now. It hasn't been as dominant as it has been last year. But how much confidence do you have in the rotation right now?
From what I've seen so far, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starters, I have all the confidence in the world that this team is going to get done what needs to be done. Bryce Elder has been just on absolute fire, starting with Lafayette or Louisiana, then Purdue, and then coming in and shutting down LSU. That one run that he gave up in the first inning, I believe that was an unearned run anyways.
Right.
And so he's just been dealing. He has been hitting every spot that he wants to, and opposing hitters don't know what's coming.
Right.
They really don't.
Yeah.
And he's been able to take advantage of that, move on, and just mow through opposing batting orders. And LSU, they came in as one of the best offenses in all of college baseball.
Right.
They were averaging well over 11 runs per game, and Texas held them to 1, 4, and then 6.
Right.
And it's just he's absolutely been dealing. Now you mentioned Blair Henley. He's been struggling. I would say yes and no.
Okay.
He's the thing with Blair, from what I've seen this year, is that he is going to have one bad inning.
Okay.
From what I've seen, every game that he's pitched in this season, he's had that one bad inning.
Just not as consistent, maybe.
He's not just straight out going out attacking hitters and throwing up zeros every inning, because he does have that one inning bugaboo that's plagued him up to this point. But other than that, he's been rock solid. If he can just figure out a way to avoid that one inning in whichever game that he's going to be pitching, Texas is going to have a real good shot to win a lot of games. And he was the number 3 starter last year. It was pretty good. He had his ups and downs, but I think maybe leaving him to be tasked with the Friday night role, going from the number 3 straight to the number 1, may have been a little much for him for now.
Right.
And I'm hoping that he'll be able to completely figure it all out, because he has good stuff. He really does.
Yeah, he does.
Like when he's on, and he's near unhittable. But it's just a matter of, like you said, consistency, making sure that he consistently hits his spots, finding the zone, inducing swing and misses. But he's just got to be able to do that, and he is for the most part. Like I said, just the one inning. And then the Sunday starter, Coy Cobb, the freshman. Yeah, I'm fairly confident that he'll be all right. I think it's just a matter of, like I said, he's a freshman. He's young. He's inexperienced.
Yes.
He's only made 3 starts up to this point.
Right.
And even so, he's been pretty good.
Right. Like if you throw an 18-year-old, 19-year-old in, by the third start you're facing number 1 in the country, LSU, and at 40 degrees in Austin, and then the fourth start you're going all the way to Palo Alto to face Stanford. I think you can't say you're disappointed. You have to say that he's a really good Sunday pitcher, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's given everything that Texas fans could have wanted. But he's He's had his ups and downs, though. He really has. His first game against Louisiana struggled. But then very next start against Purdue, he comes out and he deals, throwing up zeros all the way until the end of the game. Now, Texas would go on to lose that game, but that was bullpen issues in the ninth inning. But he was named Big 12 Newcomer of the Week for his performance.
Yes.
So he has the skills, he has the stuff, and it's just a matter of him learning and growing and gaining more experience. And I think that you're not going to find a freshman or a group of any players anywhere in the country that's going to grow up any faster than these Texas freshmen this year within the next 4 or 5 weeks, because you started with LSU, top-ranked team in the country. You move on to Stanford. Then you've got Arkansas coming up. You've got Texas Tech. You've got TCU, the two Big 12 powers. And those are all top-ranked teams.
Yes.
They're all very highly ranked. And then the rest of the Big 12 is no slouch either. And then can't forget Texas A&M in the middle of the season. Yeah, that'll be whoever gets to start there. They're going to remember that for the rest of their lives for sure, because the dish is just going to be absolutely packed. If you thought LSU on Friday was packed, just wait till you see Texas A&M. It's going to be a sight to see.
Yeah, I asked Sean this question last week, and I thought it'd be perfectly. We didn't really plan this question, but Texas has probably the most hard schedule, if not one of the hardest schedule on in the season in the country. Facing LSU, Stanford, and the Big 12 is really, really good this year. Do you think that strength of schedule helps Texas or hurts Texas? Well, obviously right now it looks really good because you swept LSU and you took 3 out of 4 from Purdue. But in general, are you in favor of having a strong schedule or more of a mediocre schedule and then you win a lot of the games?
Oh, I think it absolutely helps to have a tougher schedule, because the goal of any baseball program is to make it to the postseason, make it to regionals, make it to super regionals, and then eventually Omaha.
Right.
And yes, you can play in the postseason just off of a ridiculously easy schedule, just because you're playing nobodies, but you have this phenomenal record.
Right.
You can make it there, but once you get there, the quality of pitching, the quality of teams that you're going to face is so much stronger than what you're used to, what you haven't seen, that you're really going to struggle. And most teams are going to be throwing their aces. Yeah. You're only going to be seeing aces. Yeah. And those teams, the good teams, they play tough schedules, and whether or not they win, they learn from those experiences. They see it's like, oh, this guy's really good, and now we go and see what went wrong. Not necessarily what he did, but what we did wrong. Right. And you learn from it, you grow from it. So I think the benefit for Texas having this tough schedule is that by the time that the postseason rolls around, because I absolutely believe, there's no doubt in my mind that Texas is going to make the postseason. They're going to make regionals easily. I believe they're going to make super regionals, and I honestly think that they're probably going to go back to Omaha, and it's going to be because of the stretch of games that started at the beginning of the season. Louisiana is not an easy opponent. Right. Purdue was a team that made regionals last year. LSU, top-ranked team in the country. Stanford, a national power year in and year out. Right. Arkansas was a team that Texas lost to not only twice in the regular season, but also in Omaha. Right. Arkansas was the team that knocked them out. Right. So I think Texas is going to be a little bit angry when they take on the Razorbacks, and because they're going to be out looking for some revenge. And then Tech and TCU, obviously, they're in-state rivals. You want to beat them just for the bragging rights and just being able to go through this gauntlet. Texas makes it through this group of teams relatively unscathed, and by relatively unscathed, I'm saying I'd be okay with 500, a 500 record from basically those 5 groups of teams. I'd be absolutely okay with that. Okay. Texas could run the table after. Right. They could not lose a single game after the TCU series. Right. Just because it lets up so much there. But they have this top-loaded, this front-heavy schedule right now, that's going to help them not only for the rest of the Big 12, but also for the postseason when they get there.
Do you see them hosting a regional this year? So you have to be top 16?
Oh, absolutely. If they play the way that they did against LSU, there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to be hosting a regional.
Let me rephrase. So what would Texas need to lose? How much do they need to lose by in order to not host? Because at this point, I feel like even with, again, if you go 500 at this, top half of the season, you're almost guaranteed at a tournament because your schedule is so tough.
Mm-hmm.
But then the key is, for a young team like this, it's super important to host the first, the regional and maybe the super regional of the tournament. If they go 500, right, in the first half season, and then they play good, not great, but good in the second half, do you still see them hosting a regional, or what do they have to do to host a regional?
I think for them to host a regional, it's not going to be easy, just on account of the way that the schedule is set up right now. But for them to host, I think if you go 500 within the 5 teams that I've just mentioned, you're still a ranked team.
Okay.
I still believe that Texas will be a ranked team because they're currently sitting at 10-3 right now, and I'm not sure how many non-conference games, or at least they have 4 against Stanford, 2 against Arkansas. So I mean that's 6 games right there. If they go 3-3 in those games, Texas will be sitting at 13-6.
Yeah.
And then another 6 games from Tech and TCU, so you'll be sitting at 16-9. I think Texas will still be pretty much okay because there's still so much left to play for.
Right.
There's still so many games the rest of the season. Like this beginning part of the schedule, it's a very small portion. It's an important portion,
right,
but it's still very small. Texas can still play their way back into going on 6, 7, 8 game win streaks or anything like that, and just just mowing through the rest of the Big 12. But honestly, like I said, even if they go 500, I wouldn't be too concerned because I think that there's really nobody else in the Big 12 besides Tech and TCU who should really scare Texas.
Right.
I don't think Oklahoma State is usually a pretty good ball club, but I don't think they're as strong as they have been in years past.
Okay.
So Texas, I think, as long as they don't just completely blow it after the TCU series, I still think that Texas should be in position to host a regional. Okay. Just because of the quality of wins that they're going to be racking up.
Yeah, right. But come back to this week, the upcoming weekend, starting tomorrow. So we're recording this on the Wednesday. Tomorrow, the Thursday, Texas will start Game 1 against Stanford, going all the way to Sunday. What's your prediction? Or how do you think that series is going to go?
I think that Texas is going to come back down to earth a little bit. I think that Texas and Stanford are going to split this 4-game series because one of the things that Stanford does really, really well is that their pitching is always dominant.
Right.
It's always dominant, always has been, and that looks to be the same this year. In fact, I think the most runs they've given up all year long is 5 runs.
Okay.
In a single game. So Texas is going to have to come out, be dominant with their pitchers. So that means Bryce, Blair, and most likely Coy are going to have to come out and all deal. And then whoever is going to be the Game 4 starter.
Right.
Because I'm not sure who that'll be, but whoever that is, whether it's Mateo Boki or Matt Wayland or anybody else,
right,
they're going to have to just come out and really up their level of play. Another thing is that these Stanford pitchers, they also throw a bunch of strikes. So Texas is going to have to be ready to swing the bat. Otherwise, Texas is going to rack up a lot of strikeouts.
Right.
Or Stanford's going to rack up a lot of strikeouts. But I think that kind of plays into how this Texas team likes to go about things. They like to attack, unless you're Duke Ellis,
Yeah.
in which case he likes to look at a lot of pitches,
Yeah.
and that's why he's the nation's leader in walks this season. Which, honestly, that's one thing that's really impressed me. He was an All Big 12 selection last year, and but this year it's like. Yeah, the hitting really hasn't come around yet. He's only batting around 200, but his on-base percentage is 500.
Yeah.
He is 500 on-base percentage with a 200 batting average.
And he's always been like the sidekick in the comeback. You know what I'm saying? Like he's always on base when a walk-off hit or a lead up. A double that put Texas in front. Duke Ellis is always the one that's running the bases and scoring the points, scoring the runs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's just as important as the guy who hits the walk-off.
Right.
If you don't have the guy on base, well, then you may not get the opportunity to go out and come up and knock in the game-winning run or hit the game-winning home run. If Duke Ellis, that's what he does. Duke Ellis's job is to get on base no matter what. In fact, that's the role of any leadoff hitter.
Right.
Get on base at any cost.
Yeah.
And that should have been David Hamilton's job this year, but he's out with the Achilles injury, and so
thanks, Lime.
Yeah. So Duke, who spent most, if not all, of last year batting behind Hamilton, he was a natural candidate to be moved up into the order just because he's seeing a lot of pitches and he's seeing it well.
Right.
Like he's seeing the ball as it comes out of the pitcher's hand. He knows what's coming, and he's going to make you pitch to him. And if you can't, well, then he's just going to walk on down to first base like he's done about 55 times in the course of 6 games.